Hello, hello, hello. Welcoming everyone who has been patiently waiting. It's going to be a big, big night. 48 hours on from an emotional, a hectic, an entertaining tussle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And I'm sure we've gone through the mill of everything we need to feel. Grizz, 48 hours on. How are you feeling at this moment? Because I'm sure you've been through everything.
I'm feeling okay, it might not be the answer everyone wanted or like expecting, or I don't know, but I feel okay. I mean, obviously it's been, as you said, 48 hours, is it? Bloody hell. I've only slept about 8 of those 48 hours, so maybe that's why I'm a bit somber. But I'm a bit calmer. And I guess we will get into reasons why I am calmer now. And it's mainly due to the actual performance on the pitch of the 9 players that ended the 97 minutes or so. So yeah, I'm calmer. I'm okay. It is what it is.
And Ish, a warm welcome to you again, my brother. How are you?
Not as calm as
I'm all right. I'm all right. My head's just about returned to Earth, so to speak. I was Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, all around the solar system the last 48 hours. But yeah, just to echo what Grizz was saying, so encouraged by the performance. So encouraged by the performance. Like mentally, we look like a proper team again. And obviously we'll get into the decisions, but I like the siege mentality that I feel like this might bring. I feel like it's very much us against the world right now. I know every team gets dodgy decisions, but yeah, I like what I saw. Obviously, apart from the result and how it went out, but I liked what I saw on the weekend. I was very encouraged.
Before you go on, Wish, I know you're the host with the most, but
Hardly.
you didn't speak about this intro, man. I like wow, like it's so good that I'm gonna run it again. Bro, that is very, very neat. I mean, who do we give credit? Like, who do we credit that to? Do we give any credit? Is he worth any giving any credit to?
Should we dare to say it was a group effort? Nah, he deserves it.
You got mad.
Our brother Fahi causing a storm in the comments at the moment. Amazing work. Just the start, really. We're going to be clipping stuff up. We're going to be having content coming out of your ears on your TikToks, on your Instagrams, on your Twitters. It's all going to be there. And
it's nice, man. I'm not going to lie. It was nice.
Yeah, man. And the best thing of all about this and the reason we do it is everyone in the comments, a warm welcome to you. Guys, as tradition, as we always do, it's been a tough 48 hours for the Liverpool family. So I want to know where you guys are sending in your support from for the team today. What city, what country you in? Let's find out where everyone's tuning in from before we get stuck in. Because we've got to be together, guys. We're going to have a very overconfident Spurs fan joining us in a few minutes' time as well. So we need to make sure that we've resoluted the fort so that we're looking strong. But do you know what? There's just so many places where we can start from today. And I want to just ask you guys a bit of a bigger picture question here, right? Because we've seen Liverpool lose games before. But have you guys, based on what happened a few days ago, has it affected how you look at football and how you feel about football in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, a little bit. Just like to give a bit of background. I was working at Stockley Park on Saturday, so
This is a man who was in the situation,
live and direct. So I can't say. Obviously got to be careful about what I say, but it was the way it all unfolded, and the sort of willingness to just quickly kind of cover things up and kind of go along as if nothing had happened was a bit of an eye opener for me. Let me just kind of put it like that.
Wow.
But like, it's hard as well because you don't want to kind of do the whole we're Liverpool, we're all hard done by, because we saw even yesterday's game with Forest and Brentford, clear penalty on Wissa. We've seen Fulham robbed this season of a clear offside goal when I think Akanji was doing star jumps in front of Leno, and they still gave it as a goal. So every team this season pretty much has had.
I mean, we saw Onana punch a Wolves player in the head, right?
Yeah, so Onana was doing up Superman punches on the Wolves player. They would have got at least a point out of that game. So I don't want to sit here and go and do, oh, woe is me, it's only ever Liverpool, because every team's got things that they can kind of say. But for me, it's just we're at a point now where we can't even blame VAR. VAR worked correctly on the weekend. It's the people who are actually controlling it who I've got the issue with.
Exactly.
So in terms of like football and how it's progressing and technology, like it's going in the right direction, but it's just we've got people controlling the stuff who are just completely inept. But for the rest of the season, I can only say that I feel like this is going to give us a kind of a fire in our belly. But you just hope that the officiating gets better. But it's disheartening.
Ish, I just want to know, right, as someone who works in the space and is around kind of the decision-making process and all of this, we all know that the technology doesn't have any bias, right? It's all about how you use it. Do you feel that the people who use the technology are trained well enough to use the technology?
Mish, I'll be real with you. The technology is not even that hard to use. Like it's not. I'm not even going to sit here and try and say like it's just like it's not difficult to use. But my issue with the organization is that I feel like their first instinct is to cover up mistakes as opposed to just holding their hands up and kind of trying to rectify it. The first thing is we don't want to look bad because we've already been looking bad for the whole season. Whereas I think common sense should have prevailed on the weekend. And I know that there's rules in the game, but as soon as they'd realised that there'd been a miscommunication from between the VAR and the on the pitch ref, they should have brought the game back. But instead, it was we've effed up. Let's just kind of get the game moving and kind of go from there. And you saw the referee, the game he had afterwards. Oh my word, bro! The decisions that like his head just spiraled. Like any other things in life, like you might make a mistake, you get rattled. We see it with players sometimes on the pitch. They make one mistake, that turns to 2, turns to 3. But because they're in such a rush to kind of cover that up, the refereeing performance afterwards, I mean, like, other than the Jota second yellow, which we'll get onto Jota because...
Yeah, don't worry, we're going to go through that whole game.
Other than the ref, Jota is the one who I'm looking at and thinking that was such a pivotal moment because 10 men, we were still very much in the game. We still kind of had Salah up top as a get out of jail free card. But as soon as we went down to 9, I was just like... The game was virtually gone from that point. But to go back to your point about the refs and whether they've been trained enough, I'll be real. I think you could train children to use the VAR technology and they'll do a better job. So I can't really even say it's a problem with like the technical aspect of it. It's the people problem. The personnel are not doing what they're meant to be doing for whatever reason. I'm not here to kind of spout conspiracies, but there's no way anyone could tell me that the officiating in this country is done to not even a high standard, just sufficient standards. Anyone else on our jobs were moving like these refs. Bro, HR on your phone. Sorry, Mr. Grizz Khan. So, 3 months, 1 month notice, you're off. Mush, sorry.
Job Center Plus hype.
Bro, like it's crazy. It's crazy. I've never seen anyone fail at their jobs so consistently and not have any kind of real repercussions.
And the unions protect them so much. That's the important part. How they gather around and the circles, around them, protect the protection circles are so strong, man. Like you're not even allowed to speak.
I mean, Grizz,
your mind.
Grizz, how alarming is it, Grizz, that even as innocent as a Liverpool player commenting on a fellow Argentinian's page on Instagram, just making a bitter joke that you might make when you lose any game, you'd make it in 5-a-side goals. The fact that he's getting pulled up for commenting, this is as totalitarian as it gets in Putin's Russia and Xi Jinping's China. This is insane for me that you're actually removing the freedom of speech. Managers can't say anything because they're afraid they're going to get fined 50K. They're afraid, What world are we living in at the moment, Grizz?
You're spot on. I mean, this is a country, this is a part of the world where we promote and we're proud of the fact that we have not freedom of speech, more freedom of speech. Yeah, there's no such thing as freedom of speech, total freedom of speech, no such thing. But we find ourselves living in a part of the world and blessed to be living in the world where it's tolerated much more. Yet here we are. You're not allowed to speak up against these people. You're literally not. If you do, you're fined. You're fined or you're suspended. Think about that for a few seconds. You're just literally not to speak about them, and it's a weird situation. I mean, it goes back to, I guess, when it came to sort of a lot of stories, not stories, but a lot of sort of people were saying, well, why don't we use the automated system for offside? Well, again, the referees in this country said no, and one needs to ask why. Is it ego? Is it arrogance? Is it pride? Is it the threat of losing their jobs? Maybe, there is that as well, right? A lot of people would lose their jobs if the offside rule became semi-automated. So yeah, look, it's been a weird 48 hours, and in terms of the way I look at the game, I'm more looking at it. I'm tired of looking at it from that referees and all that angle. I'm looking at it from my team's angle, like Ish was saying. And from looking at it from my team's angle, I know I don't look it because I'm very tired, but I'm actually doubled down on the belief in this team.
100%. 100%. And I think this is where I'm sure everyone in the comments feels the same. It's going to sound so weird to say, but I think losing the game in the last moment will have a bigger effect on us psychologically in a good way than if we had drawn it. I feel like the players feel they have been so wronged and they're like, feel like everything is against them, that it's actually riled them together. Even Darwin, below the Liverpool post today, commented, I don't know if you saw it, he commented saying, love all of you guys. Everyone is against us. Let's go.
Darwin was killing me.
That is it, man.
Darwin absolutely killed. I don't know if you've seen a clip, but literally as soon as the final whistle went, man didn't even touch grass. He took off his beard, went on the pitch, started doing all of this.
Coaches were grabbing him, right?
Yeah. I was at the game, so he came straight over to us. He came straight over to us, and he was celebrating it almost. Yeah. And that just shows you the mentality. When I say celebrating it, like he knew we needed them and they needed us at that time. So after a last minute winner, you usually just gutted and nobody wants to talk to anyone, including players and fans, right? Like we don't want to see your faces if we've lost normally, and they don't want to see us like they shine away. And a lot of people leaving. It's the best away. It's the best away I've ever been involved in terms of a loss. If you know what I mean. Like it was a loss, but the vibes were so positive. And when he came over, bro, he got the crowd going. Ibu came over as well, took off his top, defiant, and just got us going, man. I was like, we just carried on singing like we won the game, bro. We didn't let them feel that we've lost.
I mean, I'd love to know from both of you, do you guys feel that this result and this team, you see them now more positively or more negatively after this game? Because on the one hand, you could say 2 of the players got themselves sent off. They made it hard for the team. On the other side, you could say it's very rare to see a team playing against the most on-form team in England at the moment against 9 men and looking competent. Which side do you, like, Ish, which side are you on when it comes to that?
It's funny because we were 20 seconds away from me being actually pretty happy. I feel like the fact that obviously we conceded a last minute winner, that heightens the shambles from the referee. But say we drew the game 1-1, I'd feel pissed that we didn't get the 3 points. But I'd be like, you know what a fucking performance. I still do think that. And for me, I'll be really honest. That was my favorite performance from us this season, that second half.
Oh wow, okay.
Not because I like seeing us camped in our own 18-yard box, because that was kind of dead to watch, let's be honest. But I saw Virgil marshal in the back line like a captain or a leader would. I saw application from our defenders. I saw Allison do his weekly world-class saves. This guy, we'll talk about him in a bit, but I said this last week on the main Kev pod. The only thing stopping this guy from being the Prem goalkeeper is nostalgia. 1-2 years after he retires, he will be recognized as the Prem GOAT. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hear anyone else's name. Don't care what medals they've got. This is the best goalkeeper that's been in the Premier League. So all the stuff I saw in the second half, I liked from a kind of a defensive point of view, from an application point of view, from a passion point of view. That was all good. And then in the first half as well, when it was 11v11, I'm sorry, we were playing better than Spurs. I know they had their chances, but we were playing better than them in the first half when it was 11v11. Even
10v11. 10v11,
that's what I'm saying.
Better.
It was still a wrap. And we always had, like I said, we always had that outball to Salah, which was causing them problems. So it's just like, I liked what I saw, and I saw us actually play as a team. I saw character, I saw heart, which obviously in football means nothing if you don't get the 3 points. But I think that what I saw from that 45 minutes is really showing me what this team can do this season when it's backs against the wall. So I've got no complaints about anything other than Jota's moment of madness and the refereeing decision. Everything else in the game, I was happy with what I saw.
What about you, Grizz? On a character level, how are you assessing this squad right now? Because Jurgen, every post-game, pre-game seems to always be talking about it now. Like, even he seems shocked by the psychology of the group because he probably thought, I have to rebuild this culture after so many leaders has gone. Yeah. What do you think about the current culture in this team?
I think Jurgen Klopp was check private chat, by the way. Jurgen Klopp was asked, is he surprised with the start that his club have made, like in terms of how many changes he's had to make? You know, so many leaders going, so many experienced people going. And he was like, yeah, you know, I am surprised. And I'm surprised as well. Like, rebuilding a whole, because we were down crest and fallen, man. Let's not beat around the bush. Last season, come into the season, we were dead on our feet.
And we were all psychologically damaged, right?
Psychologically damaged. We were tired, mentally, physically. We were looking for young blood. We were questioning, are we going to bring in 4 midfielders, really? Like, we need
I was sick of watching us. I was sick of watching.
We all had the ick. We had the ick,
man.
Right?
Yeah, I did not like the players.
Do you know what, Ish? Do you know what the last thing? You know, the most important, or the worst part of football, supporting the team, is like what you said, when you're not looking forward to the next game. Because what's the point of being a fan if you're not looking forward to the next game? What's the point of being a supporter if you're not looking forward to the next game? Deep that. Yeah, 6 months later, we're looking forward to every game. Even though Brighton may be a stiff, stern test, but we're still looking forward to it. And that's testimony to the players that have come in. That's testimony to, of course, Klopp and the coaches, but it's testimony to the ones that have stayed and have taken on a new level of leadership. The likes of your Trents, your Robertson, your Mohamed Salahs,
your Diaz's.
These guys have stepped up, not only from a playing point of view, but from the leadership. So Milner, Henderson, Fabinho, you know, all Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, quite prominent member of the squad, quite experienced member of the squad. All of these guys have gone. And now the next crew have kind of not only raised their levels of intensity leadership, but welcome the new blood and let them settle in as well.
Galvanizing effect.
Galvanize them. Yeah, man, exactly. Got a super chat before you want to, maybe I think you want to introduce someone. Sadiq Edwards, appreciate the super chat. He says, Jota, only person who let us down. I've never been proud of this team club. I feel this game galvanized us now, and I feel sorry for our next opponents. I go with that. Jota, I go with that. Jota, like we just said, he's one of the more prominent, more experienced players. It was a total head loss for that second bit. He lost control of the ball for the umpteenth time, tried to chase back and get it, and it was a pure head loss.
Cool.
You're even being too kind. Sorry to cut you, but you're even being too kind. That was Jota's stinkfest. One of the worst cameos.
Don't worry, we'll go in chronologically because I know that Tops has been waiting. So believe me, Ish, I know that I can see you're itching to go. So I'm gonna be coming to you for that Jota moment, especially. But without further ado, everyone, I want you to be welcoming. I want you to be prickly. I want you to tell him how you feel in the comments. I'd like everyone to welcome our brother Tops from New Spurs Order. Tops, congratulations. How are we feeling today?
Yo, Mush, what's going on? Ish, Grizz, thank you for having me on. What's going on, lads? We good?
Good, man. You know what? I like the way Mush introduced you in terms of congratulating you first, because I think that gets seriously, it gets lost. It gets
It
lost.
does. It does.
So the thing is, we have to separate the two entities here. One is no drama, no issues with Spurs. Spurs are doing what they need to do, going along very nicely. New manager bounce, you could say, doing very well, near the top of the table, unbeaten. So the qualm is not with Spurs per se. And, Spurs, I mean, you'll speak on Spurs, but Spurs, I could name 2 or 3 players that were outstanding for Spurs as well. And I'm fine to do that as well. But yeah, welcome, bro. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Where are your emotions, Tops? I mean, 48 hours on. Obviously, Liverpool lens is very much about the decisions and all of this stuff. But you looking at Spurs, who've historically found it tough against Liverpool, how are you feeling? Apart from the glistening white teeth on my screen right now.
I'm feeling positive. What can I say? 3 points in the Premier League, especially against a opposition like Liverpool, is nothing to be. It's nothing to be taken for granted. If anyone had listened to New Spurs Order in the week, they would have known that I was feeling quite nervous about this game. I kind of felt that this was more of a litmus test. Weirdly, more so than Arsenal, because going away to the Emirates is always a difficult game. But just the way that this fixture has gone in the last decade, our general run against Klopp, you could say games which we've been unlucky, games that we haven't taken our chances, even going back as far as the Champions League final. So it's always been a difficult fixture, and especially at the new home ground. We haven't won against Liverpool in the last, I think, we've only won once in the last decade, in which that was 2017 back at Wembley. So it was always a fixture that in my mind, I always looked as being some sort of a litmus test to see where we're really at. And I've always been of the opinion that even though we are this new sort of side, young sort of side under Postecoglou, these are the kind of games that I feel are real indicators of where a team really is. Just because I feel like as you become more confident in your playing style, as you become more confident in some of these bigger games, you start to then build confidence when you're playing with your ability at home and winning these kind of games at home. So to me, this was probably, outside of Man United, this is probably our biggest test. I was very happy to take a draw against Arsenal because we don't really play well there. And like I said, we've not really performed that well against Liverpool in the last few years.
Yeah, man. And ultimately, let's go into the performance. I know everyone's itching in the comments section. So it's quite easy, really, because I've got my agenda here has just 3 sections. My three sections are called 11 versus 11,
okay,
11 versus 10, and 11 versus 9.
That's good. I think that's a good way to. I think that's a good way to break it down. If we're looking at the game, absolutely.
So let's talk about 11 versus 11. I would argue 11 versus 11 were when Spurs probably looked good for me. That first 15, 20 minutes, it was a bit of a back and forth game. Spurs looked sharp in possession. Liverpool had something on the break. How did you guys feel kind of watching that?
Yeah, the game, in my opinion, was always going to be a bit tight. I kind of felt before the game that initially Liverpool, they carried the biggest threat in their attack. And I felt that we carry our biggest threat with what we can do in midfield. I said in the pod in the week that I felt maybe we could possibly outwork you guys in midfield. And I kind of felt like if we were to get anywhere in the game, it would be limiting you guys up front, but also making sure we won that battle initially. And to be honest with you, Liverpool started the game really positively. Everybody knows they've got a very, very good front press, almost to the point where they almost like could start the games in a press that's like a 4-2-4, where you get one of their eights, I think it was Szoboszlai, who was coming quite heavily, quite high up with Salah, Gakpo and Diaz, and almost forming that sort of 4-2-4. There was a couple times it looked like they were trying to sort of set sort of traps for people like Bissouma and Sarr, and they actually seemed to kind of get out of those. And when they did, it kind of opened up a bit. There were some times in that early sort of first half where we were getting into the channels, especially to Kulu. But I thought that Liverpool started the game pretty well. They had a lot of sustainable pressure, and in my opinion, like you know how I feel about Liverpool. On their day, be it back in the past with Mane, or even like the way I look at you guys now, you're probably the best transition team in Europe. You probably are. Like the way, the speed, the efficiency that you move the ball from back to front, but the way in which when you do get into those final areas, you have players like we've argued about in touchline, your ability to score from almost nothing. So to be honest with you, I knew that it was going to be difficult. But once we got through that first 20 sort of minutes, I kind of felt that we were getting in goodish areas. Maddison was picking up sort of ball in the half spaces. I felt that Gomez was a little bit touch tight to Richarlison, and I think sometimes that maybe opened up the gap between himself and I think on the right was Matip. So that's why we were able to maybe get in on those sides. But I felt like, I think probably Liverpool edged it in those first early periods when it was 11.
What about you Liverpool boys? How did you see it? Because Tops is obviously talking a lot about Spurs being very aware, and it did feel like that. It felt like Spurs wanted to set up a defensive base before they started being a bit more adventurous. Do you think Liverpool started in the right way? Because, I mean, Grizz-ish, whether you look at Wolves, whether you look at West Ham, whether you look at Bournemouth, Liverpool have made bad starts in a lot of games. This almost looked like our most accomplished start. I don't know how you guys felt.
I thought the selection played a part in that. I think the selection of Gakpo was significant. I thought the selection of Matip was significant in that. What it showed to me with both of those playing was we're not going to press them high up. Our offside line is going to be deeper. Matip obviously suits that far more than playing the high line. And therefore, I knew we're going to try to do the rope-a-dope to Spurs.
Yeah.
But
lure them in almost.
But to my surprise, and maybe it's a respect thing, maybe it's the occasion thing, but Spurs didn't come out all guns blazing. Like Tops has actually kind of said, they tried to counter us. So therefore, the opening 20 minutes I found, and you guys watched it. I didn't watch it on TV. I was there, so you'll have a better view of it than me. But I found the first 20 minutes very cagey. Yeah. We were anticipating 4-3, 3-2. Everyone was saying wild scores. I found it very, very cagey, and I thought it's the approach of both managers that kind of
just feeling each other out.
Tried to outfox each other, but just ended up sort of a bit of a stalemate. Like we played deeper than we normally do. We didn't press high. We let them have the ball and then pressed them once Bissouma and Maddison got it, as opposed to the defenders pressing the defenders. So that's how I saw the opening exchanges, and I was comfortable. Honestly, it was so comfortable. There was a couple of times where Son tries to get in behind, or Richarlison has Gomez one-on-one, but Gomez gets the better of him, doesn't let him get past him. Same with Kulusevski. Apart from a couple of isolated incidents where we find them one-on-one against our fullbacks, overall, I found us very comfortable. And in fact, we have the best chance, right? Gakpo shot, and then Robertson should do better on the rebound. So I found it comfortable, but there was always that threat from Spurs, as there will be.
What about you, Ish? Anything additional to that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I agree with what the guys have said. It definitely was a cagey game, but I thought it was a very high quality first 20 minutes. I thought it was a very high quality first 20 minutes. I thought it was a better game than the North London derby, for example. I thought the quality in that was higher. Yeah. I thought there was definitely a mutual respect between both teams. I thought both teams they both played to their normal kind of game plan to an extent, but I do think there was definitely a respect. Like when Maddison had the ball, I felt like we were trying to really get around him quickly because we knew that he was a danger man. And we look at kind of the best chances Spurs had in the game. A lot of them was Maddison playing these eye through the needle passes that only in KDB and Odegaard can really play in the Prem in terms of like those final third passes, which like you don't even see it in real time. You see it afterwards how they managed to kind of pick that pass out. So I thought it was a good 20 minutes, which just to me just made the red card, which I'm sure we'll get onto, made the red card all the more disappointing because from a neutral's point of view, from any team's point of view, unless I guess you're a Spurs fan, you don't want to see a red card in a big game like that because the game instantly changes. It instantly kind of goes from attack versus defense, or one team loses an attacker from the off, or whoever gets the red card. So it was a shame to see from that point of view because I do think up until that point it could have been one of the games of the season, which I guess looking back it almost is, but for the wrong reasons now. But it was a very, very good quality game. I was surprised by
it was bubbly. You know what? She make a very good point. You know, I'm so sorry.
It was
bubbly. You're right.
Exactly.
The opening 20 minutes, they were like kind of just sparring, checking each other out, and you could see momentum. You could see it bubbling up into it's gonna be all guns blazing as the game developed, and then
the red go into the red card just quickly.
Yeah, we can go straight into it. That's naturally the next part. So you go for it.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say from a Liverpool point of view, obviously it's annoying, but I remember just thinking when I was watching the game, like, oh fuck, the game's gone now, kind of thing. Like we're not gonna have the same kind of back and forth pendulum swinging.
Really? That's so interesting to me.
But to my surprise, which I'm sure we'll get into that, going down to 10 men, I think that kind of period between then and the half time, we had some of our better chances. Obviously, we have the incident with the offside, but we actually started to look a bit better. And that's not the first time that's happened this season either. Newcastle go down to 10 men, we turn it around and we kind of go to a 4-3-2 formation and we look more in control. Bournemouth go down to 10 men, get a foothold on the game, end up winning 3-1. So it's interesting from that point of view. But yeah, that kind of period from their sending off till half time, I didn't really feel like in too much danger.
I've got some thoughts here about kind of why we kind of have had periods in the season where when we've gone down to 10, we look better sometimes. I think what happens is when we've got 11, you kind of get caught between what Grizz was saying, like the game plan might be to protect, might be to keep possession. Whereas when you've suddenly got 10 men, your game plan becomes very clear. It's that every time we have the ball, we need to use it properly and go forwards because it's not realistic that we're going to keep the ball for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So it's almost like every decision becomes a lot clearer because it's almost like we have to be efficient, not ponderous on the ball. And I think that really helps. And I mean, I guess I don't know if anyone out of you guys thinks that it wasn't a red card. And in the comments, if anyone's listening and thinks, obviously Liverpool have appealed this red card. I'm very shocked by that.
I think that's crazy. Personally.
Yeah. Does anyone think it wasn't a red?
Well, it's not as crazy as we make out because I tell you what actually the law says about.
Just quickly before you start, Grizz, did they not? Am I mistaken in thinking if you lose the appeal, did they not add an extra game on?
No.
Is that not right?
No, they won't in this case because it's not. I don't know. I can't remember the exact word. So basically, oh God, now I'm not going to find it. Am I? Someone in the chat, if you've got the actual law to do with replays and those kind of incidents, but apparently they've got good grounds.
Really? I'm shocked by that. I'm shocked by it.
Yeah.
I thought it was unjust when it first happened, but then when I got to watch the replay, you saw less and less contact with the ball. Yeah, go on.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read it out.
Go for it, man.
So the VAR can check the footage in normal speed and or in slow motion, but in general, slow motion replays should only be used for facts, e.g., position of offense and or player, point of contact for physical offenses, and handball, ball out of play, including goal or no goal. Normal speed should be used for the intensity of an offense or to decide if it was a handball offense. So for intensity, this is like you're not supposed to be using VAR. Slow motion replays, which means basically they fucked up again. Basically, they didn't know their own rules.
Because the ref gave a yellow, didn't he, first, and then he reversed it into a red.
That's what I was going to ask you guys as well. Again, I don't know if I'm mistaken, but only meant to overturn for clear and obvious. And that, for me, I do think it was a red card. I think I get what Klopp was saying after the game. Obviously, if you played football, you know that he's gone for the ball. His foot slipped over and he's gone over and kind of caught him on the ankle. But I do think it was dangerous play. Like if he goes with a bit more force, his ankle's gone. He's out for 4, 5, 6 months. But
What did you guys think? What did you guys think of this comment? Big ups to Sito, my friend. He says first image shown to the ref was a still image.
Well,
Yeah, I
it
thought
was
that was
also
crazy.
they also showed the worst moment.
That's what it means.
As
The
well.
first,
It was
the final image.
Yeah,
it was the
almost
final.
like everyone keeps talking about this freeze frame. I guess I mean, Tops, you saw obviously, for example, Son at Villa when there was that leg break that happened, and Son obviously didn't go in with that intention, and there was such an aftermath after that. Obviously, the shoe's on the other foot here, where Liverpool are the perpetrators on Spurs of a tackle like this. In real time, what did you think? And then has your kind of view evolved based on what Grizz and Ish have kind of been saying, or is it still for you as clear cut?
I mean, when I first saw it, I did think it was over. I did think it was initially over the top. And then when I saw it in slow-mo, I thought that maybe made it a bit clearer. I don't know. As an objective football fan, it's difficult to see that one because you can see that he's stretching, but then he stretches over the ball. He does catch. It does look like he catches the top of his ankle. I'm also in two minds generally about how they do view this stuff, because sometimes I'm like, you actually really need to see it in full speed first. Then if you need to make it clear, then you maybe then see it in slow motion.
I actually understand why it was given as a red. So I'm not even one of these guys that's saying, no, man. That's not red. My personal opinion is he had absolutely no intention of even hitting him or going. I'll tell you why. Because Curtis Jones, we all know, I don't know if Tops you know, but Curtis Jones rolls his foot over the ball a lot. He controls the ball like that. He's very much a ball player.
And he loves shielding it as well.
He loves shielding. I was just going to come with exactly that. He loves getting the ball, rolling his foot over it, and then protecting it with his body. That's his trait. And I think that's what he was trying.
Yeah. Now,
obviously, that still image looks nasty. No one can defend that still image. But this is what that rule suggests. And this is what our appeal is based on. That VAR is not supposed to be... Slow motion, replays are not supposed to be used to deem intensity or levels of sort of... what's the word? Like collision. Like, when you're trying to measure the collision, slow motions are not supposed to be used for it. And so
it's not an accurate reflection, is it?
So that's why our appeal is on the grounds of it wasn't supposed to be used for that. It's only for the law states that it's only supposed to be used for the ones that I read out.
I'm interested though. So obviously we've gone down to 10 for that reason. And you guys have kind of talked about how we were playing, and we're going to go into your Diaz and Gakpo chances. But Tops, from a Spurs perspective, why do you think there was just such a downturn and a shock in how Spurs were playing when ultimately you've got a man advantage at this point? Why do you think they reacted this way? Because I've kind of been talking about the fact of like, were Spurs afraid of the fact that it went from a draw would be a nice result to the pressure of everyone looking at Spurs thinking, oh, well, now you better win. Was it that psychological element, or what do you think?
I have two kind of thought processes when I think of how it was when it went from 10 and how it was when it went to 9. I think from what I remember, Liverpool went straight to a 4-4-1, where Salah was the outlet. I think Gakpo initially went over to the right, and then it was half-time, and then you made the change. So initially, in that first half, Liverpool, in my opinion, they actually were setting quite a lot of traps for us and trying to press us in a narrow sort of fashion, a front three, one, and then a two behind. But then I almost feel that when it went to 10, Liverpool then almost became less sort of active in their press, and actually they became quite, what I would say, passive. And in that moment, you then find Spurs had a bit more of the ball. But then one thing I feel that just upset me in the way that Postecoglou kind of coached this game was that he didn't make changes that I feel were active enough to be able to agitate Liverpool in terms of their structure. So firstly,
like
I actually firstly feel, and I genuinely do mean this, he respected Liverpool, because Liverpool in the transition was so dangerous at 10. And I'm going to go on to what I think changed when it went to 9. But at 10, Liverpool were playing 4-4-1, and they were playing with Salah as like the last guy. And Salah, we all know his qualities. He's extremely strong. He's extremely technical. And Liverpool, because they still had people like Szoboszlai, Diaz, and Gakpo on the pitch, what they were doing, because Spurs always build with a 2-3-5, they were basically getting the ball into Salah. Salah was almost holding it up and knowing that he was still going to have the runners in Diaz, is the runners in Szoboszlai, the runners.
That's how the
in
Diaz
Jota.
goal happens, right?
Exactly. So it got to the point where it was just like Tottenham continue to play in the way that we do play, which I think has been really positive this season. We kind of get in sort of triangles in order to create overloads in like half spaces or in wider areas, and that's kind of how we then create these areas where chances where we can cut back and people like Son can finish. But honestly, when it got to 10, I felt like he was too conservative, and instead of changing the way that we played, changing the way that we approached, he kind of just allowed Liverpool, or almost, I think he actually respected Liverpool enough to be like, I know I've got the man advantage, but I'm still going to respect you enough because the channels are still there to be got at, and you guys in transition are still very good. Like, my only issue at that point is that we're still playing in the same kind of way. We're not creating overloads. We're actually not even playing particularly quick to kind of open the game up. And in a weird way, when Liverpool were like, oh, these men aren't even really kicking it up a gear, Liverpool also were able to gain confidence. And that's why I think at 10 men, it looked kind of comfortable for Liverpool. And it was weird because by the time it got to 9, Liverpool were in a deep, low block. And still,
Which you have to be
again,
at that point. Right?
Yeah, still at that point, you have to be. And still, like, it didn't look like things were changing for us. It was kind of frustrating. But then I think as well, the way that we've played this season in terms of how we've kept the ball, how we've kind of sustained possession in opposition half, how we've kind of find passes into opposition half, filter it on all these sort of things. I kind of felt that maybe after some time it would maybe develop. Like even at that time when it got to 10, somewhere midpoint of that second half, Spurs had a lot of possession. Yeah. We had a lot of possession. We had a lot of ball being circulated in and around the sort of the middle final third, but we just didn't really create anything. And honestly, it looked at a point where it was kind of comfortable for Liverpool, but then obviously it went to 9. And
that's exactly what we're going to go into. But let's just speak about the moment itself, right? So, and before we even talk about this Diaz goal, everyone in the comments, if you haven't clicked like, you should have clicked like by now. If you haven't subscribed, why have you not subscribed? You've got KopEnd, you've got new Spurs Order, you've got Khanage, all that Liverpool and Spurs content that you might want to be tuning into is here at your fingertips. We're here all the time. So guys, show your support, show your love. But guys, I want to get into, for me, one of the most, I think this is even more annoying than the Sterling offside against City in 2014, right? I think it's even more annoying because for me, you've got technology that is there to correct it. And I was even reading up before we were doing this stream today. I thought, let me understand the picture before I come on. And I really found it disgusting that the words VAR were followed by introduced to eliminate human error. So why are human beings still involved in this? When we saw in the Champions League, we saw in the World Cup that human beings are not part of this decision. It's an artificial 4D line that is drawn, and then everyone's computerized. And the good thing about computers, they don't feel the pressure of 60,000 people booing and watching them. They don't feel any of the context of matches. They don't feel any of the pressure of historical mistakes. It's technology. What you guys tell me what's going on, because I'm disgusted by how this has come about, honestly.
Ish.
We didn't even need the line. That's the funniest thing about.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen. That's the craziest part.
The lines were on the pitch. You can see I'm wearing glasses. My eyesight's shit. I could see it myself. It was clearly on the side. What I found weird was that the new rule for the linesman is meant to be that you're not meant to put your flag up unless it's completely obvious and it's like miles off.
Let's not
Why
forget, Ish. That's a great point. Let's not even go that deep. Let's start from that rule.
Because
Let's
that
start
confused
from
me from
what.
that confused me from the off.
Why did he do that from the start? Which that's such a basic law, and it's been implemented in so many games where we're like, "Yo, raise the flag, man!" But then we realize, oh no, he's been told unless it's tight, relax, and then assess
Grizz,
it.
how many times do we see when it's the other way around and we're defending and we see Van Dijk going absolutely crazy because he just had to mess up his hair and run a bit faster, even though we know it's offside. Or Alisson's had to make a world-class 1v1 save, but we already know it's clearly offside. But we say it all the time.
That's the first. That's the first. I don't know what you want to call it. Not breaking of the law, but
that's the first.
They're not following rules.
Implying,
not
the non-application of the new interpretation.
So yeah, that
alone. Oh, the hell, Grizz, where'd you learn these words?
Bro, I've been watching the news all day, innit?
Listen, Grizz, I told you my campaign for this season, yeah, is for them to realize you're smarter than you look, Grizz. That's my goal.
Yeah. That's why I wear this silly hat, man.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the whole. It was a catalogue of errors, man. It was a catalogue of errors. No part of that whole sequence was to the rules that they've set. And let's not forget, they're setting these rules. These are not rules that Liverpool and Spurs have set themselves. They set these rules and they're not following. I don't understand.
Did you sense the panic when you were around there, Ish? Obviously, you were there at Stockley Park.
Yeah.
Did you sense like there was a sense of like we've done this wrong and we don't know how to kind of salvage the situation?
So what was weird was it all happened in the space of about 5 seconds, which again is another weird thing we'll get onto.
Oh, wow.
The speed at which the ref then blew the whistle for the game to resume was a little bit too quick, for my opinion, as well. Because obviously once he's blown the whistle for the free kick for Spurs to take it, you can't go back from that. And I found it quite strange that in the space of about 2 seconds we've gone from check complete to let's blow the whistle, go again. Before we saw any lines, before we saw any kind of do you want to check it again? They checked the VAR said check complete, the whistle was blown, game resumed. Then it was
32 seconds, bro. 32 seconds from the ball going in and the kicking off again. It was.
And you know what? Do you know what burns me as well? That finish was peak from Diaz.
Amazing.
What a finish! And like Vicario, I think it's probably surprised a lot of people this season with how good he's been. Not many people knew of him before, so he's no scrub and goal. If it was Lloris maybe last season, you think sometimes 1v1 he's a bit the position is a bit peak, but Vicario is a serious keeper, and the finish was pinpoint in the corner. But yeah, it was just weird. Nothing that played out was correct.
But you know,
it was just all mistakes all around.
But you guys do know why they said check complete so quickly, right? Or you don't?
Why?
Do you know why? Do you know why
they weren't paying attention to the fact that the wrong decision was given. They thought the right decision was given, and they said proceed. Right?
This is the bit where it
but that's because they're on the group chat. They're on WhatsApp, bro. They're not even watching the game. They don't know the decision that's been made on the bid.
This is the bit that gets really, really bewildering, Mush. Because the reason why the VAR has said check complete and then gone back to smoking his cigar and playing Scrabble, right? Is because he thinks a goal's been given and it's so obvious onside. He's had a look at it. He's like, he's miles onside. Yeah, check complete, carry on. Because he thinks a goal's been given.
Grizz, you're stressing me out again, man. I've had 48 hours.
No. Make that make sense.
48 hours to get this out of my system.
I'm only saying it just in case people didn't realize. I'm just saying in case people think, they didn't get the lines out, or they thought it was onside. Or I'm just making it clear. This is the actual reason why he said check complete so quickly, because it was so obviously onside. And he thought, but this is where it gets even more complicated, Mush, because there's a big F-off screen, big F-off screen in the stadium where it says goal disallowed, VAR, checking VAR. So what was they looking? If they weren't looking at the game, they could have seen the screen. If they didn't see the screen, they could have seen the players taking kickoff. At no point did they do anything about it.
But not just that, Grizz. The moment there's a realization that what I think is happening is different to what you think is happening, surely the moment the ref says, I'm giving offside, You have a radio comms in your ear. You can just say, brother, hold on a second. I thought you meant you've given the goal. Apologies. Please do not disallow this goal. Give the goal. It would just... Listen, Tops, talk to me. Because you are outside. You've obviously got me, Ish and Grizz, full of emotion as well. But this is also an application thing. I've played football with you where you've been my manager on the touchline last season. So you've got that angle as well. You tell me how you interpreted that moment.
Like, just from the eye, I was like, that's onside. That'll be given as a goal. So it was odd to me because normally we always kind of, there's a bit of a delay, and then you kind of see the 2 or 3D line, whatever it is. But then they didn't put it up. In my head, I was like,
they didn't draw the lines, guys. Have you ever seen that?
In my head, I was like, they're not putting the lines up. And honestly, like I'm a football fan. I was like, we've had a touch here. The minute I've seen it, I'm like, it's offside, and it's not been given. I was like, all right then, let's just continue. But
guys, this is where it's different. This is where it's different from a lot of rival fans have been at me all day long saying, "Oh, VAR decisions go up against, or offside decisions go for and against all teams." And I absolutely get that. We're not thick, bro. Come on, bros, not you, bro. But like people are atting me, bros and sisters. We're not that thick. Of course, decisions go against all teams where it's tight. Remember the Garnacho one last week against Arsenal, Man United. Remember the one, Man City one, Man United at Old Trafford earlier. So many. They drew the lines. Mosh, stop saying they didn't draw the lines. They drew the lines. They knew it was onside clearly. They said,
why weren't they showing it on the screen?
Yeah, sorry. Grizz is right. Apparently, according to the timeline that they said on Sky Sports, they drew the 2D line, but they
That's
didn't.
how they know it's clearly onside.
But they didn't put the lines on the screen that we see. Yeah, this is what is so crazy.
For me, that's what's spooky.
This was different from every other fan saying, "Oh, we get rid." No, your ones are dubious and they're not sure, and you're doubting the lines. These lines were clear, and he said goal. But he didn't say goal. He didn't say.
Yeah.
The only difference is he didn't say goal to him in the earpiece. He said, check complete.
Which he just assumed that means that it's a goal.
Which then assumes Tops. Which then assumes you. Sorry. Then we have to presume then he wasn't watching the game.
Yeah, that's the only.
What's the other reason?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I mean, you can check my Twitter. You can at my name and reffing. From the beginning of the season, every single weekend, I'm tweeting about the state of the officiating in this league. It is awful, and I'm sorry. And I even said it even a couple of days ago. With the eyes and the footage and the technology they have, the actual on pitch reffing is such at a poor level these days. And to be honest with you, like, it's harsh because Liverpool have been done here, but it's like there has to be something that puts like a ring or something to these refs where it holds them accountable, because the level of reffing in what is the most watched, what is the most popular league in the world, it is not good enough. I say it every single week. Yeah, some of the decisions I see are just absurd. They're just absurd, and it's just like, not only is it absurd, you're looking like, first of all, guys that are reffing like they haven't played football before. Not only are they reffing like they haven't played football before, they're making decisions without any accountability, without having to explain themselves, and constant mistakes are being made, and all we're being given is BS statements about, we should have done this, we should have done that. I remember when I saw that Onana foul in that game. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I genuinely couldn't believe what I was watching, because I was like, on a Sunday, 10-year-olds, that would be given as a foul. How have they seen that, reviewed that, and not said anything? So honestly, I'm happy because we got the points, but I also feel like terrible because I'm like, Tops.
Kamak Channel is saying this guy was the same ref as the one who didn't give the Wolves penalty as well.
Bro, I'm telling you, like,
he was the same.
There has to be a buck. It's got to stop
No,
somewhere, man.
no other job in
There
the
has
world
to be a
can you
but.
fuck up. No other job in the world you can fuck up consistently and not have to explain to anyone. Like whatever job you're doing, imagine you're making mistakes on a weekly basis, and you don't have to explain yourself to your boss. You don't have to
no
explain
one.
yourself to your colleagues.
No one.
You're still chopping the same money every month. Payday comes, you get the same money every week.
No
Worst that happens
accountability.
is
Wait, hold on. The worst that happens, you get a bit of paid
you get a
leave
week
for a
off.
week or two.
Yeah, you get a week off. You get a week off. You get a week off. They say, yeah, cool, Mr. Coots, whatever. You don't have to ref this week. You can either do championship or you know what, do fourth official. Just put the numbers up on the board. That's it. You're good. Next week, come back again, same pay. Like it doesn't make any sense, man. It does not make any sense.
Do you know one thing that I find crazy as well? Well, I mean, two things. One is that referees and Howard Webb don't realize that if after every game, let's say during the post-match interviews, if referees came out and had to talk about the decisions they've made, I think the PGMOL underestimate how much more we would empathize and sympathize if they gave the decisions. Now, we're not trained referees. We don't know the law book inside out. There might be things that we think are obvious that are not, where at least if you've tried to explain it, I respect the fact that you have some kind of logic behind it. But the other, yeah, go on.
But the big thing about this, Mush, and this is what is rattling me, is that like we're all humans. Humans can make errors, and that's absolutely okay. It's when they actually have technology to reduce these errors, and they don't actually use it. Like, how you have technology and don't use it, bro? What's going on? What's actually going on? You've got the technology.
Can I go one step further?
Refs make mistakes. That's fine. You can't be perfect. On a Saturday when I coach, you can't get the decision. You can't get every single decision that you want. But
100%.
But you have to hope that the technology is there in place to kind of mitigate that, is used correctly. And that's my issue, is that you now have refs that are maybe not concentrating or not being professional or not just doing their job that they're paid to do. And that therein lies like where we are with it. Because then if this is the case and we're going to get decisions like this, why we got VAR?
So true. I mean, Grizz, you were about to say something as well.
I was just going to say, you know, Tops is spot on, right? But the reason for the outrage this time, the reason for the madness and all over the TO and the big hoo-ha this time is it's going to stage past that. We've got the technology to rectify the mistakes. The technology has rectified the mistake. And then the human has intervened again.
The human has come back to make a mistake.
Did you get it?
Bro, it's like spell check. It's like you turn on spell check on your computer. You're like, no.
That's a great example.
Like, it makes no. But just quickly, yeah. What I find more like we all said, refs make mistakes. VAR, blah 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 blah. But it's the cover up. They've made the mistake, and then now try to cover it up by not putting lines on the screen, taking ages to release.
Yeah, but a cover up. This is where I'm wicked. This is why I'm so happy that Liverpool have bust that statement out now, because now they have no. We won't get nothing out of this. We won't get the points back. We won't a goal back. We won't get a replay. We don't want none of that.
That's not even what we want, though.
We don't want that. What we want is to have our foot on the neck of the PGMOL, so you don't continue to be able to make such crazy errors and then just have a couple of weeks off in Tenerife as a punishment. That's what we're after now. Accountability.
I hear you guys, man, and I just think this is where it needs to come in, man. These people need to answer for the. It all comes down to this, isn't it? They keep doing this respect the ref campaigns. Give me something worth respecting first and foremost. Yeah, you're saying every week that people are abusing you. People will abuse you when the whole reason you're getting paid, and you're, like Tops has said, you're getting assisting tools as well, and you don't know how to use them. I'm not going to respect you, am I? Simple as that.
It's just annoying as well. Like they're moving like feds or like supply teachers. It's like you try and talk to them, it's like, no, yellow card, no, go away.
This is my point.
Like,
how can you be
adult conversation,
bro? How can you respect someone if he's talking to you like that? I wouldn't respect no one like that.
Yeah, Dixon saying there, respect is earned, not given. That's a great quote right there.
That's it.
And don't get me wrong. A lot of them, some of them are very good. Like, I still think Michael Oliver is the best man, best referee out there. I've got a lot of time for Michael Oliver, and it's a wickedly hard job. We know that. But some of these new breeds, man, like yesterday, you see that guy, he's he's already got an aura of arrogance about him. He's strutting around.
Oh, what, the Brentford Forest?
No. Yesterday, the Liverpool. Sorry, the Liverpool game.
Okay, yeah.
2 red cards and I believe 11 yellows. Someone could be wrong. And apart from the Curtis Jones tackle, was there a bad tackle in that game?
Nope.
11 yellow cards, 2 reds.
Like there was like a 10-15 minute period, particularly where his head just went. Every tackle was a yellow card.
Mhm.
It was
12 yellows.
It was madness.
And 2 reds. Make sense in that game.
I don't know. It's a funny one as well because even from like a refereeing perspective, I don't know. It makes you wonder, why did 20 Premier League teams reject the use of this automated service?
Yeah, the semi-automatic one. Yeah.
Why?
I'm interested to know
Why?
why.
What does that mean?
Is it that they feel,
what does that mean?
Is it that they feel potentially the Premier League clubs that when there's still a human involved, they can be influenced and persuaded, and that's still worth something?
Something, yeah. You know,
you would think that besides maybe the top 6, all the other teams would be out of favor of that.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
yeah. That's a good point.
Theoretically, don't get favorable decisions. More
absolutely, and that's something that people should remember as well. Like, people talk about the Premier League being this huge league that's got massive amount of money, but like effectively, out of 20 teams, we've still got 6 or 7 teams kind of running the show. And to be honest with you, like, I don't know, this is a whole nother topic as well, but like I always find this topic with regards to like how they ref against these smaller teams and how they do the time wasting, all this stuff funny, because if you think about it, 11-11, everyone's got the same amount of players. Obviously the big teams have way more money and way more resources than the smaller teams, but things like time wasting are like, that's like the last method. That's like the last method that the small teams have to kind of bridge any sort of gap. The minute you start taking away time wasted, then it's just a playing field, and then there's going to be nothing to be able to divide them between the smaller teams. So I think honestly, there's a bigger question that has to be asked as to why the refs, in my opinion, have so much control. And if they're going to have the control, are we giving them the right amount of control? Because at the end of the day, the Premier League's a product. It's a product. And you can't keep putting out bad product and people expecting to be like, okay, I'm okay with this. People are going to say something. Liverpool are going to say something. Like, big clubs are going to say something. And they're going to have to be, at some point, fairly accountable. They can't keep running it like this. They just can't.
But I find it, don't you find it interesting that, like, what Liverpool are trying to do aren't trying to create an advantage for themselves. What Liverpool are trying to do is, like you've just said, hold the referees accountable and everyone will benefit. So I don't know why this tribal angle has been brought in when the beneficiaries, if Liverpool successfully, like Grizz said, have feet on necks, everyone benefits. So I don't know why this is a tribal angle. I find that quite odd, to be honest.
Rival fans are always gonna. We would do it if it was United. Like, let's be honest here, even though it's not. But yeah. Like, I will put my hatred for certain clubs above the right thing to do. I'll be so real. I'm sure Tops is the same with Arsenal. Like, if United got hard done by, I'd be obviously openly. I'd be like, no, privately I'd be like, yeah, they got done in here. But openly I'd be like, you know what, you're gonna have to hold that.
Yeah, but this is mad. This is mad though. I had every fan base saying that, right? They were messaging me saying, texting me, my mates from every club saying, we're loving it because it's you. But yo, that is crazy. Like, this
I
is
think that's because of the cover up. I think it's because how they've dealt with it afterwards. Because like we've all said, but I think, like I said at the beginning, there are examples from all 20 teams this season where they've had shocking decisions, but it's how it was dealt with subsequently, which for me was like, hang on a second. And I'm not even one to do like conspiracy theories or corruption, because I kind of feel like in football over the course of the season, often it balances itself out. But the way they were like, we're not showing lines, we're not releasing the images, for me was like, hang on a second, are these guys inept, or are they just like, is there something else going on here? That's what made me think this is just mad. This is just completely mad. But the game is the game, man, isn't it?
Yeah, guys, let's and of course, comment section. Thank you, everyone. I've been reading everything as well. Some really cool stuff being said. Make sure you're keeping smashing liking that like button. Make sure you're subscribing. I want to get into some individual performances, guys, because we've touched on a few. I actually want to first say who I thought was the best player on the pitch. And Tops, I will tip my hat to me underestimating how flipping fast Mickey van der Ven is as a human being. Oh my goodness me, what a find he has been for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's funny that that we're even talking about this because I know that you guys were definitely linked with him at some point as well, weren't you?
I wanted him.
Yeah.
I wanted him.
So it's
really interesting.
It's such a funny story because he's still quite young. But
Isn't he
he
20?
really
Is he 20 or
no,
22?
he's 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a baby
Udogi,
then. Yeah.
Udogi and Sarr 20 and he's 22. Yeah.
Udogi as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way Ange plays, he always wants someone who's generally ball playing, but extremely athletic, extremely agile, because he knows that the way that we set up and in the way that we build in terms of a 2-3-5, it kind of it puts our fullbacks up almost in like central zones, and it kind of leaves us exposed in our flanks. So to be honest with you, teams that are kind of good in transition, like Liverpool, they realise that this is an area to be able to get at them. And if they did, it was going to be a case of, listen, there's going to be one of those centre-backs that is probably going to be up against it. And if he can get back and he's got good recovery pace, then it's going to be perfect. And I think before we signed him, there was this amazing video of him running from like the opposition half to basically save a goal line sort of clearance or a tackle, something like this. So we always knew as well that he had this kind of ability. But for me, like since he started at Spurs, he's been really, really positive. I liken the relationship him and Romero have to like a cat and a dog. I feel like Romero's extremely doggish, extremely high pressing. He's very energetic,
front-footed, isn't he?
front pressing, yeah. Whereas I almost feel like Mickey van der Ven is more on the composed side, but he's also has the ability to be front pressed as well. So I was really happy with his performance. He's like a really important player to how we play, but also I thought that he played quite well on the weekend. I mean, like I keep saying this, like Liverpool transition, there's no team that does it so effective like Liverpool. So I always knew that there was going to be chances that were going to make it very difficult for our defenders. And honestly, I'll be frank as well, like we won, but that was one of our worst. That was one of, if not the worst game of our season. I don't think we really stuck to the principles that have got us kind of where we wanted to this season. And Liverpool, they picked out a lot of stuff that we did. I wasn't particularly happy. I know we won, and I was watching the game, and I just felt as the game kind of went on, it didn't really impress me. But he's been a shining light for us this season. He's been so positive. I'm actually really happy that we managed to sign him.
And what about on the Liverpool front, guys? Obviously, I mean, I don't want this to get lost because I feel very strongly about this, and I know the comments are going to erupt when I say this. I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to sound over the top, but I don't care. Even though it didn't go in, I thought Mohamed Salah played the pass of the season with that pass to Diaz when he didn't score it. I thought it was phenomenal. What did you guys make of Mohamed Salah's first half and his game in general?
Not even first half. I thought he was fantastic throughout. He's playing a total different way. He's playing as a wide, creative playmaker almost from the left. He's picking and choosing his moments to make runs in behind. How many times have we seen him cut in and play that ball in? I thought he's fantastic. He's up against one of the most fittest, strongest fullbacks you're ever likely to see in Udogi, who's going to be a superstar. But Salah controlled him. Salah controlled the game. I thought every single Liverpool player was magnificent. I'm not even going to hold back much. Every single one. But I'm so glad that you guys did echo my thoughts about Van der Ven. I thought he was outstanding from minute 1 to 97 or 98, wherever it was. Yeah, and I kind of do regret not going for him, man. Obviously, the price got a bit steep in the end. Spurs paid 40 million plus for him, 45, something like that. But yeah, he was magnificent. I'm not having the praise for Maddison in this game. Overall, yeah, he's been a fantastic one of the signings of the season. But he only came alive when they had man advantage.
I don't think he played well, Grizz. Do you know what? This is actually funny. It's funny.
A lot of Spurs fans are like, "Oh, Maddison." Nah, Maddison didn't come alive until you lot had man.
You don't think so?
Nah, like, do you know what it is? Do you know what it was? Like, I felt, and it's so weird to say, I felt the game suited him when it was 11-11.
Yeah, I said the same.
Because I felt like his style of play, well, I felt for two reasons. One, Spurs understand that now in our build-up and how we progress the ball, he's the main outlet that we get it to be able to create. So the minute it went to 10, everything was going through him. And whilst it's good that everything's going through him, sometimes he actually needed a bit of a breather. And I felt when it got to like 9, he actually was starting to slow the game down a little bit because people were constantly trying to find him. I feel like he's been really good this season, but I feel he just didn't have his best game, and I felt like it was better for him when it was 11-11. I felt like the way we were putting him and Sarr in positions next to McAllister was actually kind of favouring him, and it was forcing McAllister to basically do a lot of work to try and kind of pick up the runs from him and Sarr. So the minute it went to 10, it changed it up because Liverpool ceded possession a bit. But I mean, it's going to be some games that he has like this. Like, also as well, I don't think he was 100% like fit.
Yeah, he was only past fit 2 days before the game.
It looked like he was kind of limping at times. But again, I don't know. I mean, we managed to get there in the end, and he actually didn't end the game. He was subbed off before the end of the game anyway. So
guys, I mean, I want to get into the second half. We haven't got too long, but I mean, I want to ask straight up. Ish, you talked about it before Tops was even on. If Jota's the answer, what was the question that game?
Who is the biggest bozo on the pitch? And I almost even include the referee in that, because we almost expect that from these guys now. But for Diogo Jota, and let me make this completely clear, before he even got the first booking, I don't think he was playing very well. The ball was kind of ballooning off his foot. He was just there to kick man up. Like, you kind of expect that from like a Joey Barton or a Roy Keane in the latter stages of his career. Just go out there and bully the guys. You're Jota. You're meant to be giving us a bit of like attack and impetus. He came on and did nothing apart from get 2 yellow cards. And I know a lot of Liverpool fans feel like the first booking was harsh, which I think, I don't know. There was contact and he was running at speed.
No, man, it wasn't. That wasn't a yellow. You know, that was not a yellow.
Guys,
can I just listen? No.
Let me land, Grizz. Grizz. Anytime you foul a player in transition, it's a booking. Whether you think it's a foul or not, there was contact.
Yeah,
there was
run
contact.
across his legs. Yeah.
I can't say who initiated it because I'm not entirely sure. But the letter of the law, unless fucking hell, like the referees actually followed the rules for once.
Do you know what the key? You know what the key word is in what you said there? Everything that you said is correct, except you said foul. Every time someone fouls someone in transition, he didn't foul him.
He did.
But Grizz, he did. You know because, what? Sometimes you have to see it, right? Yeah. If you watch the mechanics of how Jota was running as he was chasing, it would actually be more obvious if he stuck his leg out, but he didn't. His angle of running, it was almost kind of across Udogie, and as he ran across Udogie,
he tried to buy the contact.
Ran across him.
So you're saying it's the reverse how an attacker wins penalties off defenders, where he buys the contact. You're saying he'd done that from in a defensive transition. To buy the contact.
I don't think he actively meant to trip him over, but as he went across him, the contact was there. And what's funny is that people were like, "Oh, he tripped himself." Do you know what it's actually like to be running at full pelt and to trip yourself?
Any contact at full speed. And
exactly.
Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. That's by the by, because less than 120 seconds later,
Thank you. Like
some idiot.
I can totally understand if the first one is harsh. You have to be smart to not give the second one away. I get it. I totally get it.
That was one of the stupidest things I've seen on a football pitch. I know you guys we're all discussing whether the first one was a yellow or not. The only thing Jota came on to do was foul people. So if he didn't get a yellow for the Udogie one, he was getting one 4.5 seconds later anyway for something else he was doing. So for me, it was just what Jota came on to do and to be was nasty. And I'm guessing Grizz and Ish, you guys especially felt this. What hurt most is that when he was walking off for that red, Darwin was stood on the sideline ready to come on. That was the most painful. And I'm convinced at 10 men, Darwin Núñez coming on.
We were cooking something. We were cooking something. We were leaving with something. It might have just been a draw in the end, but we were definitely leaving with something. And even the fact that the Jota red card then led to Salah being taken off. As soon as Salah went off, I was like, we are not getting anything more out of this game than we've got right now. I like that. Any chance of a win is gone because we had no flipping strikers up front. I'm seeing Sobbers like clear the ball. It's like rugby. He cleared the ball and then tried to get onto the end of his own pass. Like it was just like flipping hell, man. Like the game was. We still had a bit of a game at 10v11, but when it goes to 9, it's curtains. And Jota, I can understand it if it was like a Ben Doak or a young like a younger player. This guy's 26 years old, bro. Like I don't know if he was playing too much EAFC the night before, but he came on, stunk up the gap, like actually stunk with his performance alone. Even if he completed the game, I'm still looking at that as like a 3 or 4 out of 10. He gets a minus. He gets a minus whatever because that performance was just ridiculous. And to get sent off like that, ridiculous. Was he just missed a 1 game as well, now, isn't it? So he's out.
He's out. He just cost this result basically. That was the big
stupid.
But guys, let's talk about. I mean, I would say we then had a period of, Alisson making some really good saves, but Spurs otherwise, like Top said, struggling for ideas. And then the most painful part, guys, where Top's probably had the biggest smile on his face that he's had all year, which is Joel Matip, who for me had his best game for Liverpool Football Club in about 18 months, put it all down the drain with a complete mishit. Are we looking at it with sympathy or are we looking at it as poor execution?
You didn't get back quick enough. You didn't cover the space. If he's
he's facing the goal when he clears it, so it shows his body shape is all wrong.
If he gets back a bit quicker, I think Gary Neville said it on comms. If he gets back like a second quicker, he's in the right shape and he can hook his. But it's the way it went in as well. It didn't just hit his leg and go in like one of those Jamie Carragher own goals. He actually rasped at top bins. Like Alisson had absolutely no chance. Like it was a great finish, just in the wrong net. And
yeah,
what were you thinking, Tops, when they went in? Sorry, good. Because I haven't really spoken to any Spurs fans since the game, so I want to know
honestly, like
you were out of ideas that last
I was panicking. Like I watched the game sort of late last. I watched the game again late last night, and I was making notes, thinking about what I was going to say on the pod today, and obviously on the Spurs pod. But it was so odd because it was just like when we were as 9 men, Liverpool looked so comfortable. It was crazy. We weren't agitating. We weren't pulling any of the players out wide. And what was the most frustrating thing is that like there were clearly a numerical advantage. And the way that we've been playing this season is that we create kind of pockets of triangles where we can create an overload. I wasn't seeing no overloads. I was seeing Solomon against Trent 1v1. I was seeing Kulu against Robertson 1v1. Like Liverpool defended very heroically. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I was so annoyed thinking, how are these man not agitating these man at all? Virgil seemed comfortable. Like what was crazy, Spurs brought on a winger and we were playing with wingers, but we were crossed to 3 towers in Virgil, in Matip, in Konate, and it was against
even like Gomez, right?
And it was with Richarlison. So it was crazy because I was thinking we need to try and exploit the wide spaces and stop using the central zones, and we need to constantly force Liverpool back to goal. And what was so crazy about the goal was that it was the first moment that Spurs, first of all, increased the tempo because Spurs were being far too patient before that. And they actually decided to move the ball basically in the space of about 6 seconds from the corner of our half to basically the other side of the pitch in Liverpool's half. By that point, Liverpool had basically got around 8, or they had got their 9 men basically back in the half. I think 6 or 7 of them were in the box. And crazy, I know this is mad, but crazily, the one time in which Spurs had an overload, there was three guys in that corner. Go watch it back. Skip, Porro, and Kulu. Kulu passes it to Romero, who's central. Skip now decides to move infield, and he almost drags Robertson with him. So there's now Porro and Kulusevski on that right-hand side. That ball now comes out back to Porro, and by the time it comes out back to Porro, Robertson is now leaving Skip and he's making the run back across. But by the time that ball gets to Porro and he whips it in, like, you know, Robertson can't get to him, and so unfortunately it balloons it. But I don't know. In my head, I was thinking that maybe if it had gone all the way through, that Velise was at the back post, he was kind of close to Trent. But I suppose at that moment, in like the 95th minute, I just saw it as relief. Like, we were so conservative up to that point, and Liverpool, who started with 11, is pretty strong, fairly resolute at 10, and it almost, like I said, it felt heroic at 9. You know, it was you know, someone had to give it up, and unfortunately, you guys just lost it in the last moment. It's football.
Yeah, man, and unfortunately, we have to come to an end today. So much we want to talk about, our emotions, everything, but you know, this is the reason why we have pods. This is why we have Grizz's shows. This is why we have New Spurs Order. There's so many perspectives that you guys are all going to hear throughout the week. Guys, I want to thank everyone in the comment section for really getting stuck in today. I'm seeing paragraph after paragraph I've been reading. Ish, Grizz, we'll see brighter days, man. Hopefully we see brighter days on the upcoming Sunday.
Definitely, man. Look, we look. It is a blip, and it's very unfortunate. But out of adversity, you know what I mean? Sometimes you get stronger, and this is one of those cases, like Ish has been saying as well. But look, credit to Spurs, they're doing their thing as well. So
that's it, man.
Yeah, man. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Cheers, gents. Thank you for having me on. I think you boys will be fine. You're a strong team. I'm not sure if you're 100% back to where you need to be, but I'm telling you now, you'll be there. You'll be there or abouts. I'm telling you, you'll be there or abouts.
Nice. Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon.